session. My name is Oluwaseyi Kende Peters, and I am the founder and executive director of the Pan-African Women Empowerment Network. One of our programs is the OnBoardHer, which is a board readiness program designed to equip aspiring female board members with the competence, the confidence, and the connections they need to not only get on their first board role, but also to excel and to succeed in those roles. We understand that being on the board is more than just your strategic competencies, but much more about governance oversight and the value that you add to the organizations that you are leading. And so what we do at PAWN is to equip our women with the competence that they need to succeed on those boards. We started this journey, and I mean the board readiness journey. I think this is about 3 years now. We've run 3 cohorts of this program, and it has been phenomenal. Like we did the last time, we've also invited one of our alumni to come and just share her story about her journey, experience on the program. Interestingly, she was part of just the last concluded cohort that finished like barely how many months ago. We had that cohort earlier this year, and it's so incredible to see that she's here to give her journey, or to share of her journey, but more importantly, the impact that the program has had on her journey in the past few months. It is my pleasure to introduce and to invite for the next 5 minutes, Poloka Thomas, who's just going to come and share her journey. Poloka, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. And good afternoon to everybody. Greetings here from Sada. Thank you so much for having me. Like you've already said, I was part of the last cohort that concluded, I think about 2 months ago. And I think for me, what then the journey did, I remember from the very first initial session that we had, we were talking about your LinkedIn and getting it ready and making sure what appears on it. And literally for me, that was like the first thing that I went and did. It was just like I just went and cleaned up my LinkedIn and made sure that I am positioning myself. But further to that, one of the things that I also did was I literally just typed a short message to almost everybody in my contacts that I kind of knew might be influenced or might be in contact and might be in a position to recommend me for a board position, just to tell them, you know, I'm putting up my hand and this is what I'm interested in. And it's been interesting to see the response, because like literally now people in my circle, if they see a board position, they'll send me, whether they know somebody there or not, you know, they'll just like put it my way. And I've been referred to like so many other opportunities that we've been considering, but also it had given me the confidence to kind of go back and figure out where I wanted to go. And one of those things is I then asked at my current employer to be transferred to one of the businesses. And one of the businesses, I'm going to be starting hopefully the 1st of September, if HR get their ducks in a row. If not, it'll be the 1st of November. But what is exciting for me about moving to this department is they're actually reworking and restructuring deals. So as part of collections and part of the businesses that are not sort of complying and in line with their contract for their funding, is trying to understand, you know, what is preventing them from being able to keep their part of the bargain. And for me, it's going to be exciting to be part of, because, you know, one of the things that you try and understand is if, you know, for you to have given somebody funding, the business plan must have looked good on paper. So somebody read it, somebody did the numbers, somebody forecasted, somebody said, oh yeah, we think this is going to work. So it's a couple of months later, or it's a couple of years later, and now this deal is not working, and now the business is not sustainable. And now you need to go try back and figure out, was it a contract issue? Is the business not being ran as what they, you know, what was the proposed or the business plan that was presented? Was the money maybe not used for what it was intended? You know, like what are you dealing with? And why is this business that suddenly when it got the money was deemed to be sustainable and now it's not working. And I can see just how that like kind of slides into where I want to go, because I'm like, as a board member, it would be nice to have the real life experiences of this to be able to bring to businesses, to be like, I've seen businesses make these mistakes, I've seen businesses do this on paper, and I've seen how it translates in real life. And I'm just like, I wouldn't even have thought of that had I not been part of this cohort, to be like, my alignment is actually better. I know that I've always said that, in finance, I know a lot of people, when we were being asked which industry would you in, because I'm in finance, I always feel like it was always sort of the advantage when you're looking for a board seating, because it doesn't matter what industry it's in, every business needs to do their numbers and needs to report on those numbers. But now it's like, oh, I've taken a step further, because now I'm actually getting involved in then the different businesses that has, seen struggles and needs to turn around. And now we need to figure out how to get them back to being sustainable again. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Poloka, for sharing your journey. And what I take out from there is the fact that, even though you've just completed the program in just barely 2 months ago, you are now more deliberate about the options that you take as you prepare for your board roles. And I think that's also one of the feedback we get from many of our participants, that beyond getting those board roles, beyond sitting on those boards, they then begin to be more I think the word is more deliberate, right? And more conscious about the opportunities that you take or you do not take, having a clear vision that, oh, this is what I'm positioning for, and this is what I want to be like. And it's interesting because I think, well, last week I had a conversation with someone, and, she started putting up some content on thought leadership. And I asked her, how does this position you for, she's going to retire soon. And I asked her, how does this position you for your next level, right? She had not thought about it, right? And so one of the things we try to do is to want to get women to begin to think about what's that next level after you spend that time on the C-suite. So thank you so much, Poloka, for sharing your journey. I honestly, of course, that I wish you all the best. We're here cheering you on. And as always, please just let us know when you get your first board role. And we're wishing you all the best. Thank you for
sharing. Oh, actually, I do.
Oh, really? You didn't mention that.
Oh, sorry. I am serving on one of the board of trustees. It's for one of our commercial properties. It's like a commercial market in Durban. So actually, that's what I was saying to you now. I'm in Durban every second month because.
Oh, okay. Fantastic! Congratulations. Please send the details so that at least, because we're also one of the things we're doing is also to compile the list of women who have actually, gotten their board roles. And I think this is just phenomenal. 2 months after completing the program, you already are sitting on a board. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Poloka. Nice to hear that. And ladies, oh, okay, yeah. So ladies, the beautiful thing about our board readiness program, which is OnBoardHer, is the fact that it was designed, there's some science behind the design of that program. And that's why we get the kind of results that we do. About 60% of our alumni actually get their first board roles within 6 months of completing their program. And this is not luck, there's some science behind that. And we make that happen. The good news is that due to popular demand, we have opened applications for another cohort that will start in October. Yes, applications is open. You can apply to get the early bird. We're only taking 30 people in every cohort. And so the earlier you apply, the earlier your application is evaluated, and the better, the more assured that you get a seat on that board. And the good news for us, anyone who wants to be part of OnBoardHer has to be part of this cohort, because from next year, the price of this program will go up, and I'll tell you why. We just got signed off a partnership with a global institute who have gone through our curriculum and vetted our curriculum, vetted the content of our curriculum, and now we're partners with them. So they will now be accepting our certificates as an entry level for their program. Now, their program is a global program backed by the International Finance Corporation, by the World Bank, and with a lot of all the global institutions. And as such, and the beautiful thing, which is really making me excited, is that they have agreed to give all of our graduates, alumni, a 65% discount in the program fees. I think that is just really, as in, I'm still struggling to, hold it in together, right? 65% is so much. And I really am truly grateful. I'm really, really, really excited. We will be announcing, follow us on our social media pages. We will be announcing that partnership within the next 1 or 2 weeks. But all right, don't let me take you too much away from why we are here today, to learn from one of whom I call the boardroom queens. I mean, there are boardrooms and there are boardrooms. There are board roles and there are board roles. But when you sit on the board of the central bank of your country, then it speaks to, and not only you being sitting on that board, being the youngest person to sit on that board, it not only speaks to the quality of your competence, it also speaks to the value that you bring on board. And that's why it gives me so much pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. And I'll just read about her. So Daniela Simao is a governance-driven strategic advisor and non-executive leader with over a decade of experience in financial oversight, risk management, and regulatory compliance. With a master's in accounting, tax, and corporate finance from ISEG University of Lisbon, she's held prominent role in Angola's financial landscape, including being the non-executive director at the Central Bank of Angola and the audit committee member at the Deposit Guarantee Fund. Daniela is known for her keen curiosity, ethical rigor, and ability to transform complexity into strategic advantage. Her expertise spans internal control, audit supervision, capital market operations, and international regulatory frameworks. She's contributed to landmark initiatives such as the POPEMA program and the execution of IMF safeguards in Angola. As a certified chartered accountant and member of international bodies such as the IIA and ILA, Daniela is also a Mandela Washington Fellow and a G100 country chair for integrity, compliance, and globalization. She actively mentors startups and emerging leaders across Africa and platforms like the Founder Institute and PWN Luanda. In all her endeavors, Daniela remains committed to lifelong learning, inclusion, and empowering institutions with clarity, accountability, and purpose. Ladies, it gives me a great pleasure, excitement, delight to welcome Daniela to today's mentoring session. Daniela, do you just want to say a word or two and then we'll start?
Thank you very much for receiving me, and obrigado in Portuguese, okay?
Obrigado.
So I will make sure that when I finish this session, people are going to learn some Portuguese and some local language too. So thank you very much to invite me for this session.
All right, thank you. Ladies, you here, get ready to learn some Portuguese. I'm not good with languages, but hey, I will try. I will try. We have one of our alumni who was from Angola. I can't remember what program. She tried. I couldn't get it, but maybe I'll do better today. All right, so ladies, as we had the last session, it's going to be a Q&A session. So please just start sending in your questions. We have just about 90 minutes, which we spent about 20 minutes out of. And now we need to begin. So start asking your questions so that we can maximize the time that we have with Daniela. But sometimes I get selfish, so I get to ask the first set of questions. All right, Daniela, I think one of the things I'm curious about, I mean, you've had such a diverse professional background. and you had experience spanning different sectors. So how did you get on your first board role? How did you get involved in your first board leadership role? And what was the moment? I mean, what made you decide that I want to sit on board? What led to that moment, right? To say, oh, you know what? I want to pursue a board role as part of my career. And how has that been for you, really?
Yes. Well, it was a surprise for me because they put me there because my background is accounting, and then I moved to financial audit. So in 2014, I started my career, my focus career in Capital Market Commission here in Angola, the regulator of capital markets. So I started, then I moved to a senior position, and then I start to oversight banks because here capital markets is a new industry. So, and it was started with banks doing the position of brokers and dealers. So I need to lead teams in oversight, on-site and off-site oversight banks. And sometimes I was the youngest leading the team. And when people see you, okay, you look like a beautiful lady, with sometimes with like a presence, like a kind person, and people try to bully you. So even in the team, when I was the youngest one, I need to double and train, prepare myself very well, very deep, in order to show like, okay, I can do this. I'm not just the youngest person. I know how to do this, and I'm going to prepare myself and give my best in order to show up the value of my work. And the CEOs of the banks, the majority here in Angola, were expats from Portugal and Brazil, other countries. So people start to talk about me because I had the kind of oversight that teach people, okay, not just the regulator, the one that came and say, yo, okay, you did this wrong, is not like this, we are not in compliance, and so on. I educate them. So they start to talk. And in capital markets commission, the leader was then, the leader then moved to be a minister of finance. And so in 2018, because Angola was facing very reputational issues, local and internationally. So it affects the central bank image and also the ability to attract, investors in the country, attract investment from IMF and, and others banks that was like counterparts of central bank. And then Angola need to ask for assistance from the IMF. And when a country asks for assistance, you have to accept some requirements and some stuffs. And back in the date, the central bank has it as an audit committee, but the majority are people, like people that with a strong background, but with not so much visible on, in some, outside the country and so on. the kind of people that stuck in their career, but they have wonderful background, but they need to have fresh and new insights and perspective on what is going on outside Angola, and sometimes is what is going on in Africa. And then IMF said, okay, you need to have a new body in a committee, audit committee. And what they told me is they start to find people that that IMF also approve their profile, and they put me there. Because when we talk about central bank, we talk about political influence, business influence, and people pay a lot of lobby to be in these roles. And back in the day, I was like, oh my gosh, how these people find me? And even when they did a secret, because they didn't want so many people to know that they put my name on the list, because I'm very young and I'm not the person. Back in the day, I wasn't the person with a lot of influence in some circles, so and here in my country have a lot of corruption case, people with a lot of conflict of interest, and I was the kind of person with without conflict of interest and without visibility in some circles of uh, political influence. So they put my name on the list, and they said, okay, Daniela, it's you. So they put me there, and when I realized that I was the youngest person, and okay, they said it's not to be in the officially board. You are going to be on the audit committee. Audit committee don't has vote, vote. How can I say it in English? Okay, if you don't, you cannot vote. You only can advise and ask some questions and wait for board members ask you for advice them. And but then they told me, because I was like, okay, what is my mission here? And I asked a session with the late governor, and asking him, okay, I'm here, but no one told me, okay, what is my mission here? What is supposed to me to do? And he said me, well, Daniela, we want your support in order to help us on IMF safeguards, and also to increase the risk culture here, not only on board, but also with departments that you need to communicate regularly, like internal audit, risk management, compliance department. We want these departments be sponsored by audit committee. You are the ones that are going to be focused on this matter, because we need to be focused on core business, regulator, regulate the financial system and so on. So they want fresh insights, fresh direction in how to support them in navigating these issues. And also they were worried related to internal control system. And well, it started my journey there. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And so a lot of things I took out from that. First and foremost is, I think one of the things that kept me in wonder is how the IMF has been deliberate in pushing women on boards. And now, why do I say this? So our mentor last month was also placed on 2 boards by the IMF. Her story and your story are totally different. Her journey and your journey totally different. So it means that there's some deliberate effort by the IMF, and that's what's coming to me now, that there's some deliberate efforts by the IMF to place more women on boards, right? And honestly, that's why I'm really excited about the partnership we have, because that organization works directly with the IMF. So it's not even giving me more excitement, right, on the partnership. But some of the things that you said that stood out for me more is how your visibility positioned you to be selected by the IMF to sit on that board. And that's why I personally take the session on personal branding and positioning. It is so important, ladies, that you need to position yourself for these opportunities. Daniela didn't have, for you to sit on the board of a central, you need to have some political goodwill. But she didn't have this. But and in an era that is increasingly digitally powered, I always say that the access to some of these positions have now become permissionless, right? They have now become borderless. You do not need to have that political goodwill. Once you are someone of value and you can communicate that value in a way that is strategic, as someone I know will say, make noise about your achievements. If you don't make the noise, who will make the noise for you? So visibility is important. It's something you cannot afford to let lie low or to allow someone else to do it for you. You need to define the narrative that you want people to have. And more importantly, organizations like the IMF, right, to have about you. And there's something else you said about your understanding of what was going on outside of Angola within the broader African continent. Your understanding of that placed you in a favorable position to be, nominated for that role. And that's important. And that's one of the reasons why I like what we do at PayWen, is because we open you up, because sometimes it's so easy when you are based in your country to be thinking within the confines of your country, whether you're in Mauritius, you're in Ghana, you're in Kenya, Uganda, wherever you are. Sometimes, because that's the experience that you have, you begin to sit within the limited perspective of your country's realities. However, we live in a global reality. So not only understanding how your country and how your company plays within the context of the national economy, but more importantly, how does your own national economy play within the context of the regional economy, and how does that play within the context of the global economy? That is important, and your ability to be able to make those connections and bring that value to the organizations that you work with will stand you apart from other people. I think that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing of that. And you also mentioned something about shaping culture, right? That's really important for us as women, because we live in a patriarchal culture in Africa. And yes, even on the boardrooms, you still have this traditional patriarchal mindset. So the question is, as a board member, aspiring or current, how are you shaping the culture and the biases towards women to create a better playing field for the women who are coming after you? I think that those are the three things that I personally took out from your comment, and thank you for sharing that. We have a question before I get too selfish and ask my own questions, and it's from Niveshi from Mauritius. She's saying she's also she is also a Mandela Washington Fellow this year. Congratulations, Niveshi. And she has many questions, but I'm going to summarize this. So first question is, what are the technical and non-technical skills that you need on the boardroom, in the boardroom, right? And to what extent do you think artificial intelligence is positively or negatively affecting the boardroom structure and smooth running? Let's start with those two questions.
Oh, thank you very much and welcome, Nibashi. I invite her to be here.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, because we are together in the Mandela Network.
Okay.
So I told her it's a wonderful opportunity for networking. And let me first say something. Something that people valued, and this is the reality, is the owners, companies, they don't need us. They need what we can solve for them. So I'm a person that I'm very protective person. And back in the day, the central bank needs someone that was not exposed, but also a person that it's not easy for us to bribery and corrupt, And then I found that this is something rare here in my country. People don't accept bribery, to be corrupted. So you become value for people. You become value for companies, because they know that you have a kind of doing things that is different from others. The way you think, the way you do is very different. So back in the day, in the central bank, they need people to be like a reference, like in the risk-based focus, and not in a way that obligate people, but it's like it's her mission and so on. So we need to value a lot our skills and our abilities, because it can solve a problem of some companies, Sometimes it's not just about our technical skills, it's about our soft skills, because technical skills anyone can do a course, a training, and done. But soft skills is something that is very difficult to train, and sometimes there are things that are inside us, but because we don't know too deep about ourselves, we don't know how to show the world our value, and then in this session I'm going to tell more about it. But back go to the question. Okay, what boards value? The technical, they value people that how to read financial things, how to read financial balance sheets, PL. We must know how to read annual report and so on, but not read in an operational level. We need to connect operational level with tactical level and strategical level. And then we need to be expert on something that is missing on the company, or the company need to support their core activity. You need to imagine, if you are in the health industry, you need to be expert in imagine COVID impact symptoms on people. You are expert on it, maybe board of a big company on firms are going to put you, even if it's not in the beginning on a board, they can put you on the committee, only to observe and see if you are a good deal for them. Okay, so be expert on something, especially something unique, expert in something that the majority of the people are not specialized. Then financial things, expertise in your industry, and then you need to train every year related to trends topics. Imagine you do a training related to artificial intelligence. connect artificial intelligence with your expertise, you know? Connect COVID symptoms impact with artificial intelligence. So you create something unique which people are going to value. Always connect the trends with your expertise. Don't follow the trends and transition from industry. Stay in one place. You know, so people remember you. And then related to soft skill, okay, executive presence. You must have executive presence. You must to know how to use colors to support your presence, to support decision making. You need to study, you know, a little bit of science, you know, psychology, because when you are in the board, it's about political dynamic, you know, personality dynamics, you know, read between the lines. So it's something that we don't learn in technical side, you know, executive presence, how to communicate. The second one, how to communicate and strategically, not to communicate for communicate because I want to share something that is on my mind. No, I need to share something related with the person that are going to hear my content. You know, I need to understand what the person that are going to receive my content value. I need to understand what this person valued. What is his or her personality? It's like a introverted person, extroverted person. There is a person that valued more emotional things, you know. So we need to navigate in this diversity. And the third, we need to develop strategic mindsets, strategic presence. And then also be a good networker, be a good seller. Yeah, we need to know how to sell. Even in silence, we need to know how to sell. And there are a lot of soft skills that you can invest. I share some of them, the ones that I invest, that I know that are giving me returning, return on the investment. I'm here in this session. And that's it. So I think I also answered the second question is related to artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So artificial intelligence, the questions on the board is just aligned to your industry. You know, because you only need to know the basics. If you are not an expert on artificial intelligence, you only need the basic, and also understand how to use this tool to leverage your presence, to leverage your value. That's it.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for being so detailed. And let me start, feedback of insight from the first question you answered. Governance is all about influence, right? How are you able to build the strategic capabilities that helps you to position yourself as a person of influence? And how are you then able to learn the soft skills that you need to be able to push? Because, on the board, everyone has an agenda, right? Everyone has an agenda. So the question is, how can you influence other board members such that you're able to push your agenda? It all comes down to soft skills. It all comes down to your ability to read the room and to be able to add value in a way that showcases that you're not only a figurehead on that board, but you are a strategic leader that is contributing to governance on the board. And that, that's what I took out from your, for you to even be invited to the board, you must come with some technical functional expertise, because that's what the board is looking for. That's why they've engaged you. But once you get on the board, your technical skills do not matter. It ends there, right? Governance, board roles is also all about governance, and not it's governance oversight and not functional technical requirements. You won't be doing anything. You're just going to be making decisions that contribute to the interest and to the long-term sustainability of the organization. And I like what you said about AI. I think, okay, not that I think, I actually teach something called hype cycles. And so I actually lecture with the Cambridge George University, and there's something called hype cycles, and which is one of the things I'm introducing into this current cohort that we're going to run, is your ability as a board member to understand what hype cycles are, understand where AI falls within the current trajectory of the hype cycles that every technology innovation from whenever in the last 100 years have followed. All the technology innovations have followed a certain hype cycle. There's some science behind it, right? So you're understanding as to where does AI sit within this cycle, and how can I use this knowledge to add value to the organization that I'm sitting on their board, is an addition that we're adding to the curriculum for this cohort, because something I'm excited is something that I teach. And so I'm truly, truly excited, to add that to the board readiness. So that's what you need to know about AI, and not necessarily the end user usage of AI or the functional knowledge of machine learning and large language models. You don't need all of that. Question is, because don't forget you are a board member. Okay. Thank you so much, Daniela, for that. I found that to be quite insightful. I saw another question. Yeah. Adova, I see your question, but I think she's answered this. And you're asking what key skill is a must for all board members. She's mentioned it in different ways: technical skills, soft skills, and your ability to influence. The full list, I mean, you have some things like governance. She mentioned everything: corporate communication, conflict resolution, because yes, there were conflicts on the board, things around risk management, sustainability, digital transformation. She's mentioned all of that. So I think that is, and the most important thing is that you must be a learner. One of the things we always tell our alumni is that you must always invest a certain minimum of hours into equipping yourself every year. And some people have said 30 hours, and whatever works for you is fine, but you must commit every year to structured formal learning to improve yourself, because we all know that the pace of change is fast. Now, I realize asked the question. I realize, good to see you. I realize one of our alumni, and she's asked a very valid question that, Daniela, I think you can relate to this question. How can we have a man in the house?
How can? Could you repeat?
I see a man in this house. Irina, please help me attend to that. Oh. This is for women. Oh, you invited him?
Oh, because I share in my community.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because I'm also a mentor.
Okay.
And okay.
Okay, no, that's
sorry,
fine.
I didn't know it's only for women. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So Ariella is asking, how do you manage the age dynamics or diversity on a board? Now, especially for you who has, I'm sure you have firsthand experience of this, where as you sit on a board where you have older members. How do they relate to you? And sometimes there are some people old enough, I mean, significantly older than you, and we live within the African context that is very respectful of our elders. So how do you navigate these dynamics? But also, how do you navigate the dynamics with male colleagues, right? It's a patriarchal system in Africa. Anywhere you will face this, anywhere you are, whether on boards and leadership, it's a patriarchal system. So how do you manage this, different dilemmas?
What interesting question. Well, I have mentors, we cannot be successful and sustain any career if you walk alone without mentors, without a community. I have mentors in my family, outside my family, in my networks, in my communities, women, professional networks. So it's very important, because the moment that you feel that what I'm going to do next, or how I must deal with these people, you have the support of your network. Your network leverages you. Your network guarantees that you always bring value. So to deal with people with 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, I need to, train a lot my active listen, But first, as I said, I invest a lot myself every year. For me, it's not negotiable. Invest in my career, do a training, soft skill training, do a program, mentorship program. I invest on that, and for me, my best investment was go to Mandela Fellowship program, because I learned a lot about my personality traits, a lot about my top 5 strengths. And, the concept of the program was like, you live your 70% of your time, you use always your strengths. And the things that are not your strength, you need to identify people that have the power that you don't have on that. So this is what I did. I start to map, my connections. I start to map people that I feel comfortable to ask question. I start to train a lot asking question. I found that I was an introverted person. And yeah, I'm a quiet person. And then I found that, as an introverted person, I have the power of asking question and give my ear for people to talk. And I'm only asking question and hear, it's very powerful. So I start to map my network. I have a strong connection with my grandmother. I ask question like, if you were you on that board, how you show up, I write one question and I ask 3 different people, 5 different people with different experience, the same question, only to see like, some patterns, only to understand, oh, it's diversity, it's wonderful, it's sometimes we think like be on board is like, oh, status, it's about me. It's not about us, it's about the company, it's about the people that are with you on board. It's about how to bring safety for these people, how to create trust, and so this kind of conversation that I did with the people in my network, it allowed me to train how to build trust with people that don't know me. And the majority of the people are afraid of me. because here in Angola, you know, people think like, oh, if you are in a central bank, we are people from security, you know. And even if you are the youngest one, asking question, and the government allowed you to asking question, people start to become afraid to be with you. So I need to learn how to attract these people. And I found that the burst start because one of the member in the audit committee, it was a elder, you know, with a lot of wisdom, with 30 years on the central bank. So I start to asking questions to him. He said to me, the first thing is, Daniela, don't say they are doing the things in a bad way. Ask question, be curious about the experience on the bank, be curious about what went well, what was wrong, you know, understand the culture, because people are very conservative, you know, they are from an age, from an era very different than yours. So I receive a lot of wisdom, and I was like, okay, I have the opportunity to show that I'm young, but I want to learn with them. I want to learn their story, you know. And this is was the way that I start to create and build trust with these people. And yeah, it's a journey. I'm on the bank 7 years. So it's a journey of create trust, not only on board, but all in a company with almost 3,000 people. And everybody wants your role. Everybody wants to sit, you know, in your place, but no one know your pain there. And you cannot show them you are in a pain because you need to influence people. You are going to be the reference that people have. The youngest one are going to look at you and see, okay, I can create a journey and be there. So wonderful. I need to learn what she is doing. So it's a high level responsibility. It's not just about status. It's about your country visibility. It's about your community visibility, your parents' visibility. You know, it's very impressive things. It's not just about being on a board.
Thank you so much for that insight. And I like what you say about everyone wants your role, but no one is willing to understand the pain that you
Yeah,
feel being on that role and how you're able to navigate this. And you know, it's one thing I always tell participants of any program that we do at PWEN is that people who succeed in spite of the challenges that they're facing, not that they are devoid of challenges. Sometimes when I hear about the challenges that some of these successful people have faced, I'm always like, oh my God, how were you able to do that? Right? And so we need to know, because especially as African women, and I'm very particular about this, we always have those multiple challenges that we are juggling at the same time, whether it's work-life balance, whether it's balancing your role as a daughter, wife, mother, and a corporate executive, whether it's balancing your career and your aspirations and your, I don't know how we juggle everything, but I don't know of any African woman that is not struggling to balance all of these challenges. But guess what? Despite these challenges, some women have succeeded. So the question is, what's stopping you? So just know this, the women who succeed in spite of the challenges, not in the absence of challenges. There always will be challenges. So I like what you said. But something, and I like the fact that, you know, you talked about self-awareness, right? That's the first model we do on our board readiness program, because If you're not self-aware, you are not able to show up in your authentic self as a board member. And if you're not able to show up as your authentic self, you are defeated from day one, right? So understand what makes you you, what makes you unique, and the unique value that you add to that board. That will now help you to then go on to the next thing which you said, which is asking question in humility, right? It's just been, sometimes you never know it all. You cannot know it all. And the most beautiful thing that I've heard Daniela talk about is asking questions from those who have gone before her, because they come with a wealth of knowledge. And I see that she's paying it forward by being active in mentoring, right? Well, I mean, I like that, Daniela. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. But ask questions. The humility to be willing to be seen as stupid, because sometimes why some women don't ask questions is they don't want to be seen as stupid, or they don't want to be seen as, oh, but you should know this, right? We need to overcome that mindset and then ask questions, no matter how stupid, right? Ask questions. Your role as a board member is hinged significantly on your ability to ask the right questions. But something that intrigued me in your journey, and I'd like you to just speak about that briefly, is how did you manage that shift from people seeing as Daniela the expert to seeing you as Daniela the woman who is to be feared because she's on the audit committee of the central bank, right? Especially within your internal circle. No one wants to, because they don't know what to say around you, and all of that. How did you manage that?
Well, I manage that when I invest in my executive presence, and I also invest in communication. I had a coach, So as I said in the beginning, I also learned how to communicate in a non-verbal way in order to create trust, with the people. Because sometimes we think like communication is only what we say, but is also how we look to the people, the colors we have, how our level of energy and emotions hard, because people they feel, even in the board, people feel it, because people are always reading between the line. Because when you are in a meeting, in a board, we need to take decisions. So people have different opinions, but you need to guarantee that we have convergence in decision making. So we are always reading, people with our eyes, the movement, the level of energy. This is something that naturally we learn. The more we sit, we learn, but we have to be open to learn it. We cannot sit there and stay like, okay, no one allowed me to speak and so on. You are going to be fired because you are not adding value. As I said in the beginning, companies, they don't need us. They need our value to solve their problem, our value to make more money, our value to influence the youngest people in the company. So I need to do this investment, and the shifting was when I learned, oh, okay, I need to train, but the question was, okay, I don't have too many opportunities to train these new insights that I'm receiving, because when you learn something new, we need to execute, because otherwise we forget. So because I needed to train the way I communicate, people that advise, my mentor said, okay, you are ready to be a mentor. I was like, really? They said, okay, yeah, you are ready to be a mentor. Find a place, a community or something, and start to be a mentor. And I was like, okay, what I'm going to mentor people on. And my advisor says, my mentor said, okay, you are a curious person, find something that you are curious and they need mentors. So this is why I found Founder Institute. Founder Institute is a startup community where people came with projects and they need advisors. And then I found there no one was talking about risk, compliance, and governance for startup. So, well, it's an opportunity. So I start to train my presence, my communication, the art of asking smart questions in that community. And also, I was training the feedback. I was always looking for feedback in order to see where to improve. And then I started to teach people when people invite me to train, you know. So a lot of opportunities we have to, to train our soft skills, our technical skills. We need to find a place to do that because in our companies, we don't have too many opportunities to live our potential, to live our life purpose. So when I'm in this kind of communities, don't underestimate women network communities, contests. Don't underestimate because this is all a way for you to build resilience to survive on board.
Thank you so much. I like what you said, and it's important. And on boards and on any leadership role, it's not personal. No one is interested in you, but they're interested in the value that you bring on board and how you are able to help the organization achieve their objectives, whether it's making money or whether it's international, whatever. It's not personal. Mm-hmm. And as long as you are not contributing to these objectives, they don't want you on the board. You'll be on your way out. So it's not personal. Always ask yourself that question. What value am I adding to this organization? What value am I bringing to the table, the proverbial table? So thank you. Thank you for saying it, because, sometimes we are women and we are emotional beings. And sometimes we intertwine our emotions with decision making. And maybe that's not the best, because we need to be able to detach ourselves from our emotions and look at it very objectively to say, am I adding value? No one, and I love the way you say it, right? No one is interested in you. All they're interested in is what value are you bringing on board and how you helping the organization to achieve their corporate objectives. I think it's so beautifully said. I've seen a couple of questions that I will not take because Daniela has answered them, but I'll just summarize this. For instance, Marianne from Ghana, I see your question about how can you position to be identified or as a board member. The first thing Daniela has said is self-awareness, and then taking opportunities to showcasing your value, whether it's thought leadership positioning on LinkedIn, or like Poloka mentioned when she started, about telling everybody in our network to say, you know what, guess what? I've taken a board readiness training. I'm ready to be on board. Or to how you take opportunities such as mentoring opportunities, such as training opportunities in Daniela's case, and any opportunity you have to show, like I always say, the awesomeness of whom you are. Take every opportunity to showcase that awesomeness, and then that way you are able to, people then begin to see you and identify you as someone who can add value. All right, and that also speaks to you, Nancy. So she says she's a Yali alumni, cohort 2021. Do you accept to sit on any board? No, you need to understand what your value system is and what your career goals are, and you should only accept board roles that align with these. I'm just moving quickly so that we can ask, we can get to all the questions. But there's a second part to Nancy's question that Daniela would like you to answer, right? She says influential people sitting on diverse boards. Is this a good thing?
Could you repeat again?
Okay, so she's saying that she sees influential people sitting on different boards. So they're on boards in climate change, they're on boards in health, you know. Is this a good thing?
Okay, it depends on their agenda, you know. I don't know where is the destiny of their agenda. Something that I can say, if it's in many boards, is because he has something that these boards value. Maybe it's not the technical, as we said in the beginning, the technical skills are the door for you to enter the room. But then when you are there, it's totally different. So there are people that join in 5, 6, 7 boards and they don't say anything. They don't do anything because they value is the network, because they have a strong investor network, you know. He can access to funds, you know. We talk a lot about ESG, but there are people that they have access to ESG funds. And the people, when companies talk about the people and diversity and so on, they want to put their hands on these funds. Sometimes it's difficult because we think is okay, their agenda is diversity, their agenda is the funds that are financing this agenda. So sorry to be so sorry to bring the reality, okay? But there are a lot of people that are talking about ESG, but we need to tell ESG, it's okay, but the reality is also the funds that you can bring to the board, you know, because in the board, our value is understand what people value in the board, you know, these hidden secret agendas. Sometimes it's very difficult, but the more you ask smart questions, you start to understand how people think, you know, what people really value. Sometimes he values the opportunity to be 3, 4 mandates in the company as a CEO. So your value is guaranteed that you have something, you bring something to the room that can sustain, you know, these 2, 4 mandates, you know? So you are going to survive there. What I bring to central bank value is fresh insight, smart question. I don't make the question in the same way as the people with 50, 60 ask the question. Here in my country, people are in a lot of conflict of interest. So they become afraid of asking question. I'm not afraid because I'm not in this place. So because the boards, it depends on the way you ask the question, but they need people to ask the question. They need people to see things they are not seeing, you know, when they are taking decision to contract a new tool, to partner with a new supplier. They need people to see things that are the gaps. What I do in board, I show gaps related to risk, compliance, you know, corporate governance, principles that can affect, you know, and also I integrate it with money impact, you know, because all of them valued the financial impact. So we need to communicate also with that. So when we have people, influence people on boards is because they people sell, they people bring network. These people bring contracts, bring money to the company, because the people on board, they cannot open all the doors. Imagine the governance, they cannot go to startup ecosystem. Founder Institute, where I am, he don't have the password to go there, because he's in a high level, he don't know what people are talking there in this kind of system, but he knows something. Central bank is in a digital transformation, Central bank needs to also integrate artificial intelligence. People with 60s on the board, they are not asking questions related to artificial intelligence. Imagine. And also, as you said, on LinkedIn, I use my LinkedIn strategically, because they know that this is going to bring value also for central bank, because they have friends on banks, commercial banks. They start to talk, how these people on your board are posting on LinkedIn on women communities. So, because I'm telling this because some of my colleagues, sometimes they came to me and they say, oh, my daughter said to me that he saw you on the summit of women and he liked you. And, this is why you bring value also to the board, because you are not influencing. You are not influencing just the board, you are influencing the community. And one of the motto of central bank is generate value to society. So that's it.
Thank you so much for sharing. And one of the things I like that you said, and which is, it's crucial and it's really important that we as women, we understand this, is understanding the spoken value that you're adding to the board. Sometimes it may be tokenism to say, oh, we have a woman on our board, or we have a Black woman on our board, or sometimes this value could be really very soft as that. But don't now then just dwell on those unspoken value, or just the fact that you, like Daniela said, you have access to some climate funds or ESG funds. I mean, climate is the next big thing right now, right? There's so much money. There's so much money in climate, right? So perhaps you have access to climate fund. You'll be shocked the amount of unspoken value that sometimes is a deciding factor for you being on those boards. But irrespective of what those unspoken value is, the question is, how are you now rising above that to now then add value so that it's beyond, she mentioned about some people who, because they have access to some funds that the organization needs, they don't see anything on those boards. No, right? You need to be adding value. You need to be seen to be a strategic communicator, a strategic value addition to those boards. So I like the fact that you just, highlighted that sometimes, and it's the reality, it is what it is. I mean, it's not bad, it's not good, but it is what it is. But the question is, how then do you play that to, like I say, driving your own agenda? Don't forget, as a board member, you have your personal agenda, and you must work in a way that ethically helps you to push this agenda forward. Thank you. So I'm going to summarize some further questions. Flavia, I hope I got that right. Asks that, how do you integrate board members into the board, considering that they have different perspectives? This differs from organization to organization, but I believe that every organization is. And one thing I must say, really, and that's why I'm really passionate about our work in helping to push women on board. I don't know of any board that is right now not looking to add young people into their composition, because they realize that the world has a higher percentage of younger people, and they want representation of such people on their board. So the thing is, there are a lot more opportunities for us as women and for us as young people to get on these boards. But we need to position for this, and we need to show that we are ready. So Flavia, the quick answer to that is that this differs from organization to organization. Now, I have another question from Nivesh. Nivesh, this is the last question I'll take from you, right? Because we have so many other questions. But she said, can you give us some practical ways of reading a room? Or is there any book that you would like to recommend for this?
Well, as I said, we need to study about personalities, you know. You have a lot of frameworks and studies. What I can say, you can find the research and assessments related to 16 personalities. It's very interesting, but you have a lot, but something for you to learn, you know, the board dynamics. Board dynamics is about people. It's about people behavior. So we need to work a lot with the five sense, you know. We need to work with vision, but you know, I don't know how to tell how you develop without doing. We need to find a place to start doing. You can start at your home, you know, it's a friendly zone, comfort zone, and then start to understand people behavior in your work, you know. So you start to see about dynamics, board dynamics, and deal with that. But also there are trainings, but I cannot refer you directly some trainings because I didn't do the experience, but I know there are trainings related to political intelligence on board level, for board level people. You have a lot of advanced trainings that equips people on these matters.
Fantastic. And I think that's just a brilliant response to that. It's something that you develop over time, right? But now, Ajoke, who's also, I think, an alumna of, no, not I think, she's an alumna of one of our programs. She said, can you expand on why it is important for women to invest in getting paid coaching as professionals? And she also wants to know the name of the organization or the name of the program that you run where you train other people.
Oh, you know, something that we need to do during our life, you know, until the end, we understand that we are the best assets. We are the assets. We are the best assets. So we must invest because there are knowledge that one cannot achieve without paying, you know. But when we paying for a mentorship, a coach program, we need to calculate the return of the investment on these investments. You know, when you are in the board level, you need to understand the dynamic of financial system and finance and investments and so on. You need to understand how people, how CEO value assets. You know, people nowadays are assets. You know, because they have the ability to sell, they have the ability to influence. The more they influence, the more they can sell. Sometimes without saying nothing, but they are selling. So it's very important invest, you know. I invest, you know, every year I invest in something new. I'm going to invest next year in a curiosity program, deep curiosity program. Because I know, because I'm a data-driven person. I take decisions in my life and also in my career based on data. And the World Economic Forum published this year that one of the most soft skills that companies are going to looking for in the next 10 years, one of them is curiosity. And the second, I think, is empathy and influence. So I found a program that I'm going to teach how to leverage my curiosity. So Invest, my program, it's something new. It's called Guardians of Corporate Governance. And it's a training for people that are in different departments to develop kind of presence that can show that my presence is protective, and is based on purpose, influence, and security. Not just bring security to companies, but also to our career. Because I understand the tools and the methodologies that companies apply related to risk management. So I bring some of these in a simple way to people, to professionals, because we need to have a plan for uncertainty times. So this is the program, but more information I'm going to share with the team here so they can share with all of you.
Okay, thank you. Please do that, and we usually will send an email after the session, so we'll send it across to everyone. Right now, Yonju, I'm just going to quickly answer your question because really, it's looking like we have just 30 minutes more. It feels like we just started. Really, it doesn't feel like we've actually spent an hour and a half here. But I'm going to maximize time just to ensure that we answer all the questions. So Yonju has said, you get paid as a board member in for-profit driven organization. Let me give a context to that. So there are different kind of organizations that you can sit on their board. So there are non-profit organizations. Most of them do not pay. Some of them pay sitting allowance. Some of them will cover expenses, but most non-profit boards do not pay. Now for-profit boards, it depends on if it's a startup, they may not pay you, they may pay you sitting allowance, or they may pay you with equity. I mean, there are different models of payment for for-profit boards. But now, if you're not looking at bigger organizations such as small cap companies, capitalization, cap means capitalization, right? So if you're looking at small cap companies, mid cap companies, large cap companies, the money is enough for you to just sit down and cross leg and not, and not do anything for the year. I actually know one of my mentors who sits on 4 boards that meet just once every quarter. Most boards just meet once a quarter. I mean, unless you're for other reasons. And cumulatively, she earns over 600,000 US dollars from just those 4 boards. And the organization she sits on are not even large cap companies. Most of them are low to mid cap companies. So yes, but there's a journey. I mean, before you get to that level, there is a journey. We typically would advise that you start from nonprofits, build the muscle, and then begin to now go on to startups, and then begin to now then go on to low cap companies, mid cap companies. And then, so it's a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. But if in 10 years time, you want to be able to sit and say, you know what, I'm just going to sit on one board and and they'll pay me over 500 US. And yes, but even boards within Africa do pay even much more than that. You'll be shocked. All right. So I mentioned that everyone has an individual agenda. Can I explain a bit more? As an individual, you need to have a reason why you are on that board. There must be a clear-cut definition of why you're on that board, the value you want to know. But more importantly, like I always tell people, when you are leaving, what do you want people to say about you? What value do you want to be written in the books and in the sands of time to say, oh, this is the value that SKP has brought to this board. This is what she has contributed. That needs to be your agenda. You know, what do I want people to say as the qualitative and quantitative impact that I have added to this board and the organization? That's the agenda that you need to drive. Every other agenda, I don't know about it, but, but that's the key agenda that you need to drive. I'm just hurrying up. Now, so Zoom user, I'm not going to take your question, please, unless, okay, she's put her name there. If you're asking a question, please put your name and where you're joining us from. So Serene Obuya says that she's seen situations where politicians are members of NGO boards, and sometimes there are situations where conflict of interest may arise. How does this even work?
Well, as I said, it depends on the individual agenda and also the organizational agenda. And, you know, it depends how this NGO was founded, you know, and the mission, because sometimes we have NGO that are using with other and different purpose, you know. So it depends a lot of different questions, because we don't know. We are not sitting on that kind of boards, so we don't know what's happened on that board, because you can have an NGO, but he's not working as an NGO. So it's difficult to measure.
Yeah, thanks for that. So many questions. Okay, so Edna is saying, thank you for such an inspiring session. Really, 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 this has been inspiring. And she says she values the way you emphasize the power of asking smart questions. Now, in your experience, what's the best way for us as women to transform those questions that we often carry in our minds but struggle to articulate into meaningful dialogue that adds value to others? You know what you want to say, you know what you want to ask, but how do you now translate the thoughts in your head into a more professional and strategic dialogue with board members?
So as I said, I invest myself in order to do that, you know. I had a coach, a voice coach, and also a communication coach. So because there are a lot of techniques how to do that. And then you need to be in action. You need to ask and also then get feedback, you know, to understand how the person understood your question, you know, because you need to, when we communicate, we need to guarantee that we are effective in what we are communication. So we need to assess if the person understand and how this person understand, because one question, people understand it, different people understand in a different way. One question.
All right, thank you for sharing that. And you know, it's important, the power of voice coaching. When we submitted our curriculum for audits, you know, by the organization I said we are partnering with, they said that our program is the only board program they have seen globally that includes voice training. And I said yes. The reason for that is because our target audience are specifically women. And I know I have seen the impact of having women who have beautiful ideas, but their voice is not projecting the depth and the quality of their opinions and the value that they're adding. So that's the reason why we added that, you know, to the model. Voice coaching is super important. Beyond whatever it is that we're even going to teach you, you need to invest. If you do not have a voice that projects well, you need to invest, like Daniela has done, in a voice coach that helps you to hone your voice and helps you to speak in authentic ways. You can also check on YouTube. I see a lot of training. There's this Chinese guy that I can't remember his name, but I see a lot that is doing a lot on, and it's free, really, right? On how to improve yourself, how to improve your voice, how to speak such that people will listen. Because really, that's what you want to write on the board. But voice coaching is important. So Beverly is asked that if we're interested in joining boards of quoted companies, what are the specific trainings that we need and what type of profile do we need?
As I said, we need to study what the company valued. You know, something that sometimes I do, because for me it's a career. I read a lot of LinkedIn, roles, open roles for board member, so I can read and study what ANGO valued, what public companies valued. But sometimes the public companies, they don't, publish, some roles. But there are some that publish. So you need to understand deeply the culture of the company. Read financial statement, annual financial statement, for you to understand the culture, the strategy, the vision, and then you can find what company value in long term, so you can adapt and incorporate in your profile. Imagine that you find a company that valued the young people on the board, that are people that are influencing in some youngest communities. So you need to adapt, your profile, and be visible on LinkedIn, on medias, so the companies can see that you have the right profile. It's, as I said, it's not about us. It's first about the company and the people that are on the board. It is not about us.
I like that. I mean, that particular statement is so profound. And I think we cannot drum it into our heads enough. It's never about you. It's about the value that you're bringing. We need to, Daniela, we need to put this words on marble from Daniela. I want to speak to that a little bit also, because I see a question from Kende Adeboye on, asking her what are the chances of being a board member after being on an advisory board. The question is, the goal is to sit on large cap publicly quoted companies. So, like I said, there's advisory board, there's startups, there are low cap companies, there are mid cap companies, and there are large cap companies. If your father is not Dangote or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, it's very rare that you will move from being in no board to being on the board of a large cap publicly quoted company. It happens, but it's very rare, right? So you typically have to start from advisory boards and then be deliberate about, this is where I want to go, and this is how you map a path for yourself. But most importantly, you have to be visible. Visibility is everybody wants influential members, right? So influence is one thing that you need to have. So question is, how are you showcasing that visibility? So Kenny, I've answered your question. Now, there's a question I'd like you to answer, Ellis. Daniela, I know we are running out of time and we'll just be ending soon, but I really would like you to answer this question. And it's from Elsie. And she says, how do you deal with the dynamics on a board where you are forced to choose sides? The chairman of the board has a position, but you have a different position. And you have to be politically aware, and read the room, like you said. So how are you now able to deal with this conflict of position or conflict of interest in a way that does not sabotage your political goodwill on the board?
Very interesting question. Okay, it's very difficult, I had the experience that the majority of my colleagues want to approve something, and I was the only one that got reserves. And it's very difficult, but as I said, you need to know how to communicate in the way that people value it. And what I did was I didn't say that I don't approve. I said I have some concerns related to this, and I showed data, and I propose if we could have more time to reflect on the decision, and then put in the next time agenda. Okay, sometimes it's not to say no directly, is gain their trust, show data related to concerns, and then sometimes we don't achieve our our intentions. So there are good days, bad days, but make sure that you said what was your reserves on that decision, and it stay right in some place, because sometimes it's not about be on the side of the chairman or the other members. It's about position yourself in, okay, I understand the majority of the board accept this decision based on, because sometimes we can question, okay, where is the data to support this decision, And then if we don't have data, we can ask how safe is go to this direction. If something happen, how we are going to react? Do we have all the tools, all the methodology to manage if something bad happen? So some smart and provocative questions, but make sure if the majority accepts something that you don't align, it is written in some place, because the way my experience, the majority want to take a decision that I have reserves, because I say that I'm not comfortable. I need to reflect. If the board allowed us to reflect, to have the department giving us more data, explaining better if something happened, how the department and the company are going to react to the things. The things was they didn't make the decision in that day.
Yeah.
They moved to another meeting agenda. And also I applied the voice coach techniques.
Okay, thank you so much. I like what you said, especially the penultimate point you made about deferring decision on that topic to allow for more data. And because sometimes it's always even better, especially when you differ with someone as influential as the chairman of the board, to have those conversations offline. So by deferring the date for the decision to be made on that particular topic and asking for more data, you can then have an offline conversation with the chairman where you can slug it out, right? You can have all those, one-on-one. And in that case, you've given respect to the chairman without without undermining his authority in a way that is respectful, but yet you have also let your voice to be heard. I really love that, Daniela. Thank you for sharing that perspective. All right. So many questions, but I'm just going to be able to take maybe two more, before we finish. Let me just, Joshima is one of our alumni from, I think, our Shistri program, and she's saying, when aiming to join an advisory or committee board, is it wiser to actively apply or focus on being noticed and invited? My dear sister, I'll say do the two, right? Apply when you see roles that you like, apply. At the same time, keep positioning such that you attract the right boards that you want. For someone who's passionate about contributing to beyond their home country, what pathways exist to gain advisory opportunities? One of the things I'll say is that for alumni, we always share international board opportunities with them. We actually just partnered with an organization in the UK here who shares with us opportunities that are targeted to African women. So we always share those opportunities with an international scope, right? Readiness is just fantastic, with this. But now it's something what we are even more deliberate about doing in recent times, and that's why we are building all of these partnerships. Right. Okay, so yes, we've asked that question. Now, Yara asked the question. I think another person had asked a similar question, but she had said, "Oh, when did you know it was time to be ready to be on a board member?" Yara, if you remember what she said, it wasn't like, oh, she told herself that, oh, I'm ready to be a board member and I'm going to go for it. She was invited to be on the board. But I think the question I would like you to answer from this is, beyond the money and beyond the pedigree of being invited to the board, what other considerations made you say yes?
Oh, the challenge.
Okay.
I love challenge,
Yeah.
And the challenge, because they say to me, we need you to help us increase the risk culture in the company, in the organization, because central banking was facing a reputational crisis. So, was the challenge. It was not even the money, was the challenge, and also the opportunity to serve my country, and yes, was the challenge. But something that I want also to say, no one's question, is, okay, when was the moment that I said, okay, I want to do this as a career, board career? My mandate is going to finish. I have only one more 2 years. So, but I understand that we need to start transition. It's my point of view. We need to start transition when we are at the company. Transition is not something that we must start like when you say, okay, I'm out this company now, I'm going to look for something. So after 7 years on central bank, I decided that based on my personality traits, based on my energy, and based on all of this experience, I want to have experience on other kind of boards, like NGO boards, like private equity boards, or even in startup industry boards. Yeah, it's different to be in a central bank. So I need to start also this journey. What kind of companies and organization I'm going to accept? Am I going to accept only the ones that pay me, or are the voluntary ones? What are the value that I'm going to add on that board? And what are the value that I can take from the board? Because, as I said, it's all about the value that we give to the company, but it's always about the value that we take from the company. So before choose any company or board, also evaluate the value that you are going to take from that kind of company.
All right. Thank you, Daniela. It's important to me that we do not overshoot our time. So I think I'll stop here with the question, but I would always ask my own question, right? Which, I mean, just one question, right? Especially as we wrap up this mentoring session. And it's one question that I plan to ask every of, the mentor that comes. What is one key piece of advice you wish you had received when you started your board journey that you'd like to pass on to these incredible, future female leaders that we have in this call?
I didn't have the opportunity to be in a community, a community focused on people that want to join boards, but also for women. So my advice is take advantage of this opportunity. It's going to bring you a lot of value. When you need to pitch, people, chairperson, people on the board are going to feel more comfortable when they know they are dealing with a person that invests in herself always, in emotional intelligence, technical skills, because they, as I said, for them, it's a source of information, connections, investors, it's an opportunity because they know they are not need to invest on training you all the time, because this person give us so much value, even if we don't do anything. When the CEO go to a summit, people are telling, "Oh, I met Daniela and she's fantastic." It's valid. It's valid. And you are going to ask me how many times I'm in the CEO room. Almost zero, because it's a person with no time. But he's getting a lot of value. But this is for the good side and for the bad side. The moment that I do something wrong, they are going to receive too. So invest always in yourself and know deeply your value. Have a purpose in your life, in your career, and don't want to be like Daniela. Be yourself.
I think that's beautiful. I mean, I like that. Don't try to be like anyone. Be the best version of you possible. Daniela, it's been absolutely amazing spending this like 2 hours with you. Ladies, I know you don't want to put on your video, but please unmute and let's say a big thank you to Daniela. That's a big
thank you.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you so much.
Daniela, it was a good session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Daniela. Thank you.
Thank you for voicing out. I mean, it's good to know that we're not alone in the room. But Daniela, this has been really phenomenal.
And thank you. Let me say goodbye in the Kimbundu. How goodbye? No, I think it's a hello in Kibundu, our local language, because I have some people here from Angola, and I'm very happy to have ladies from Angola engaging here, commenting, asking questions, and was aquela que ambotei. Thank you so much.
I can't say that again, but thank you.
Obrigado.
Obrigado. Okay, is that what I
in
say?
Portuguese.
Thank you.
Obrigada. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we've learned something, but thank you all, ladies. We have one more session, exactly a month, third month in September. Is that if you want to join the OnBoardHer program, I advise you that you apply early. We typically close the doors once we have accepted 30 people in, because we like to keep the cohort small, nice, and so go ahead and apply. But we'll send you all the details by email. Daniela, thank you. If I had 1,000 words, well, thank you. This has been phenomenal. Thank you so much. Ladies, do enjoy the rest of your weekend and see you in a month's time.
Thank you, SKP. Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you,
Take care.
Fabs.
Take care.
Thank you, SKP. Thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.